Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome back to Tom Plays EU4 for Absolute Beginners. We are back with France. Looking a little more promising now. In fact, let's just pay off some of these loans. Rather than just waiting to be asked. Because sometimes when a random event crops up, if it's negative, you can find yourself being charged more the more money you have. So in some ways it's better just getting it dealt with. Start the clock anyway. Right, so we should first fabricate some claims on England. So let's get London especially. Sussex if we don't have it. We have lost a bunch. Essex if we don't have it. Right, that's reduced things a bit. Do we need to make claims? No, we don't. We've got loads of claims there. Right, brilliant. So this came up, free policy available. What this is when you completely fulfill 2 idea groups, it unlocks a policy that you can adopt based on the combination of those idea groups. Some are better than others, but the first one in each category, administrative, diplomatic and military, again, is free. So it's always worth adopting the free ones. So I think the one we've got complete, these are ones we're technically working on. The one we've got complete, the Spy Discovery Act, I would argue is not very good, but it's going to cost us nothing, so we should have it. We can repeal it later. Not immediately, but by the time we get any other administrative ones, we will be able to repeal it without any issues. If we get a second one, that will cost us 1 administrative point per month, and if we get a third one, that'll cost us 2 in total. But often it's worth filling these up, but only if there's something good. This one really, I mean, yearly corruption, that isn't usually a problem. Foreign spy detection, it's handy, but it's not that big a deal. So that's probably one of the weaker ones, so we'll likely get rid of it as soon as anything better comes along in administrative policies. But yeah, it was worth going for anyway. We should certainly fill this column as soon as we can. Okay, right, so next we should rebuild that colonial army, because we're getting quite close to being able to start colonising. So remember, our ability to colonise actually depends on colonial range. The exploration is technically unnecessary. What these ships are primarily needed for is to transport the army, because once we start building a colony, unless it's on an uninhabited something, we are going to need to protect the colony. Okay, so this is another institution, the printing press, and apparently it started in France. I didn't even know it could. I thought it always started in... Right, good grief. That's amazing for us to have some good luck for once. Right, started in Paris. Excellent. Right, so we got a bunch of bonuses because we were the starting place of an institution. Now we find this one does spread quite quickly in Germany anyway, and does show up in a lot of other places, so it's not quite as valuable getting it in the starting position as it would be elsewhere. But nonetheless, I mean, the boost to our various monarch points was very welcome. Might allow us to make these calls for one thing. So yeah, that was good. The only problem is, because Paris has had one now, it won't be able to get another, which is another reason why we want to take London and maybe build up some of the other areas. Still, it's a nice little boost. at a time when we definitely needed it. Okay, cool. So we need a cannon. In fact, I've built an extra cavalry, which we didn't actually need. I usually have 2 cannons. That's really annoying. How many cavalry do we have here? Oh, right, that's fine. So we're going to need a cavalry for our second army anyway. So not a big problem. Start building a cannon, and then we can just build a second cannon. We will have what we need. Plus we can ultimately have up to 3 colonists at a time, so we're going to need 3 of these 6,000 strong armies. So yeah, just move you over to Paris for now. Okay, the heir Louis breathes heavily. Let's check our ages. 49 versus 16, and he's actually quite decent, and Medicus isn't that expensive, so I think it's possibly worth trying to keep him if we can. And he's dead anyway. That was a waste of money. Plus we're going to be in trouble with nobility if the king dies now, because we will have a regency. That's the risk we take. We're going for legitimacy. That's assuming we even have an heir. It could be even worse. This is an absolute disaster with no DLC. It's very difficult to get out of. And as you saw then, it's not always avoidable. So yeah, let's just hope we get another heir. In fact, with that in mind, we should definitely have another royal marriage with Castile, because that will improve our chances. And we should go for royal marriages with any other allies that we don't already have one with. So we've already got one with Bohemia. Yeah, pretty much everyone except Castile. Still, it was worth getting a marriage with Castile. Right, we should probably see some land again. Even though it's a bit of a pain, we could do with finishing off the whole trio of privileges. So religious state, land of commerce, and then I think it's primacy of the nobility, which we can probably actually go for. Little risky, but we need the military power. So the reason that was risky is that if it had taken our crown land too low, which would be below 30, excuse me, we aren't in a position to seize lands because we have to wait for 5 years. So we'll just have to hope there's nothing that reduces our crown land in those 5 years, because the penalties for not having enough crown land are quite severe. Right, let's go in and try and take them. I should really give them a general if it's not too late. Send them there, because it's between 2 lands that we're coring. It's quite a likely place for us to have uprisings. Nothing else, we'll hopefully be discovering more spies now. Look over here. Almost done with the loans. Just improving relations again. So once the loans are done with, we'll obviously have to take on the cost of a colony, But after that, we'll start rebuilding the army. Carefully, because we don't want to get to the point where we're spending too much. Actually, when can we use this again? So that might give... Oh, we need to restore our legitimacy. So yeah, we really need an heir before anything else. And as soon as we get the papal influence... truce with... Oh no, it's not a truce. Basically, England has formed the nation of Great Britain. Slightly laughable, because they don't actually own all of Great Britain. But that is what they are now calling themselves, so there you go. We will just have to accept it. Do you remember Great Britain is technically the name of the island? So, even though it is used for the nation sometimes, it really only refers to this. Doesn't refer to the island of Ireland. And you'd really expect them to have a whole of Great Britain before they started calling themselves Great Britain, but there you go. Okay, another royal marriage, that's good. Come on, give us an heir. Brilliant. So we would have gone a bit behind in military technology because we filled the defensive ideas group. Ooh, big cannons versus small cannons. Doesn't really say which one we used. I'll just use the small ones for now. So yeah, definitely worth... You see the hit on morale to the cavalry unit is enormous because we've changed cavalry, but the hit to the main army isn't that big. But yeah, hopefully that should mean we now have a plus because we're a bit behind everyone else. So we should be able to get military technology cheaper. So hopefully we'll catch up soon, and we'll also have the benefits of the defensive ideas, which will give us an advantage. Right, that last diplomatic idea should have increased our colonial range. So we can now send the colonist, but we have to think very carefully about where we want to send them. Ideally, the Caribbean. In fact, really ideally, we would want to go here. But apparently that isn't an option. So... well, that's fairly central, at least. Part of me is thinking that we could do with getting a holding on Africa, but some of these are more valuable, to be fair, so maybe we'll go further up. I wonder if we actually want a place here first. I'm just thinking we only technically need one spot in the Caribbean, and the whole island of Cuba is uninhabited at the moment. Not uninhabited, sorry, but not colonised. So it does rather make me wonder if we would be better getting a foothold in Brazil. I might do that. Let's go. The sooner we move, the better. So we're now sending a colonist. It's going to take 155 days for them to arrive, but we are going to need an army down there, basically. It gives us a measure here of how many natives there are, how aggressive they are, and how ferocious. So I think aggressiveness is how likely they are to attack, and how ferocity is how dangerous they are when they do attack. We're also going to have to be horrible to the natives, because that gives you the best bonuses for spreading. So, to be fair, it doesn't make a lot of difference, because colonising is horrible in the first place. So, that is how we're going to have to play this. That's all assuming we have an heir, of course, because this is all going to go horribly wrong if we don't. So, some of the DLCs basically allow you to find ways out from under the yoke of a personal union, but it's a lot trickier if you don't have them. It's one place where the basic game does fall down, so a personal union can be quite disastrous. It's purely a Christian country thing, I think. But yeah, can happen through no fault of your own in theory. I suppose we could go looking for additional royal marriages. But in theory we do have a few, so... Oh, there we go. The bonus of that. We've got an heir, and the heir is actually even better than the last one. The only problem is the heir will be younger, age 0, so if a king dies too early we will get a regency. And the nobles will be upset. But nothing we can do. At least we don't need to worry about a personal union. That really would be a disaster. So, partly going here because we're right next to an actual nation, which we may be able to conquer to allow us to expand faster. Technically there are two nations here and they're often allied to each other, so it's often a good place to start colonising. Might not worry about as much as France, but playing Spain or Portugal, you often do want to get some lands here, make claims on these two nations and take the land. It's worth getting to 5 provinces early, because then in certain areas of the world, including anywhere in the Americas, you'll automatically get a colonial nation form and they will start doing things by themselves, including colonising, especially if you give them a bit of support, which can be very valuable. As France, we're not as concerned. Our main concern as France is to gain a foothold in each colonial region. So this area is roughly where Brazil lives, and we really just need 1 province here. That's all we need. Not necessarily saying I'm not up for conquering this province, but we only really need 1 because it gives us a claim, and then we can start beating up Portugal in order to take some of their lands. So in all likelihood I'll get 1 province here and then we'll go straight for the Caribbean and carry on from there. Might want to get Louisiana fairly early because it's quite difficult to get a foothold in. I can never quite remember which bits of land you need for Louisiana, but there aren't that many on the coast. But for that we'll need some exploration, of course. Once we have the colony started, we can land our ships here, so the explorer will be able to start using it as a base to explore. But in the meantime, we should send the ships home because they're taking damage. Thinking actually this might be a better place, given we've ended up going south rather than north, because we can use the coast along here and you take less damage when you're going along coastal regions. So yeah, often as France you would actually go this way, and certainly as England you would generally go this way. But for some reason, presumably because England haven't been exploring as much, they've been too busy taking over the British Isles, we actually knew about these lands already, so we could start colonising them immediately without having to explore. Oh! Colonies formed, so we may as well land our ships here, so we can actually start exploring using this as a base now, which should give us many more opportunities for exploration. Which is good. Right, so this is what I was talking about being nasty. You've got 3 basic options on how to deal with native inhabitants. So this one is generally the one you need to go for, because it gives you the most uprisings, but that's not a problem, because if there's any chance of uprisings, you need your army there anyway. So how many you have doesn't really matter. You just put an army of 6,000 there, that will deal with however many we have, so the uprisings don't matter, but it does allow colonies to grow faster from now on. Paying them, I think, is a trade option, so yeah, it's good for profit, but not as good as building your colonies as fast as possible, because this is like a race. And this, I think, could in theory also help, but I used to go for this one, and I always moved much slower. So yeah, I think this is really still the only option, unless it's changed. And I would expect all the others are doing the same. Right, who's disloyal? The clergy are disloyal. It's unusual. Getting there. Very slowly getting there. Right, let's spin time out of it. Salt crisis, can't do anything about it. Still gaining money, so not a big deal, really. Revolt, where's this? I think we can handle it. Okay, we do need to look at what our diplomats are doing, and we also need to go for Sanctioned Dynasty as soon as possible. Oh right, okay, I guess maybe we can't, we must already have it. Yeah, possibly we should wait. Oh, this is early. That's... we're actually very lucky to get that so soon. Okay. Right, well that's good. And I think we can start exploring. Right, so let's check out the area over here first, because I do want to think about this area. I personally really like having colonial nations and vassals of any kind. I like having computer players on my side. Not everyone's that keen on it, but as France, we start behind on colonising, and it's just so much more important to have a way to make claims to other people's colonies. So it may be a while till we get one. Okay, we have a lot of friends. He's become an opponent of the Burgundian king. I am perfectly happy for Burgundy to hate us. No problem at all, especially because it improves our loyalty. Okay, so this is our first attack, and I'm expecting no issues whatsoever, you see? So we don't need a general, we don't need anything. That 6,000 strong army. We'll sit there and we'll deal with any attacks that come up. And we are not using our diplomats, which is never good, but I do want to keep an eye on these ships, so I'm just going to live with it for now until we're ready to send them for home. So you see we're already uncovering a few little areas. Take the new tech. So I'm expecting a bunch of states there. Clearly we're not conquering enough. Not taking much damage here because it's effectively an inland sea. And we're also effectively following the coasts, which is kind of a whole point because I'm trying to explore. But I think after this one I may start sending them back to base. We're not in a huge hurry with this anyway, so let's get them back. Right. Yeah, they're taking damage already, which isn't good. Might have left that a bit too long. Right. I would have thought we still had a spy network in Great Britain. Let's start building one again. Not sure when or why it actually stopped. Okay, Austria is totally willing to join in with all of these at the moment. Great Britain apparently is on the side of the Pope. That's worth knowing. We have lost a vessel, that's not good. Going to have to rebuild any we've lost. Do we have a claim? We do have a claim. I'm guessing that's a permanent claim, which is fine. Okay, so no one's particularly weak at the moment. Yeah, we've done really badly there. Went far too far, so you do have to be quite careful when exploring. That again is something the DLCs handles for you. Oh yeah, they're part of the Empire, aren't they? Okay. Fair enough. Get rid of the most expensive lamp. Right, so assuming have we lost all of our vessels? I think we probably have, or we will. Right, we'll have to rebuild them then. Military access is fine. I suppose the only slight hope is that maybe we have some slightly more... Oh, we do. Slightly updated vessels. So mostly we just need 6 transports and ideally a heavy ship because we're in the high seas. New cardinal, which is brilliant. A rebel uprising, Burgundian separatists and French noble rebels, which could show up in quite a few places. Okay, well let's concentrate on these. Yeah, that's pretty much where I was expecting them. Okay, fair enough. Start general, which is fine. Hire another one who is much better, probably thanks to the defensive ideas. And we should start improving relations with people in the Empire. Okay, and let's build a carrack. Start rebuilding the army now as well, because I think we've probably reached our maximum manpower. We have. Yeah, so it's not just going to be money that's a problem for our manpower. Actually, let's move you to Paris and you to Rem. Right, so what do we need? Well, quite a lot of... Okay, hold that thought. You guys picked a very bad time to rise up. Well, yeah, we need quite a lot of infantry, so let's just make a bunch of them. At least that's used up quite a bit of our manpower, so we can now focus on paying off the final loan while the manpower recovers. I was just bothered we were wasting the recovered manpower. We do need to keep an eye on the financial effects of increasing the size of the army as well. If we can increase it enough and if we can catch up to Great Britain in terms of military tech, we can hopefully launch another attack on them. Right, we should always try to support our merchants. Trade is very important. I really feel like I could do with taking the legitimacy one again immediately as soon as it ends, so still going to keep some papal influence in stock, so to speak. Okay, nobility versus clergy. This isn't good. So we can upset the Pope and the clergy, or we can upset the nobles and have an uprising. I mean, this is interesting because it actually tells us where the uprising is going to be, so in theory we could start moving our army there. But yeah, I'll take the uprising, thanks. At least we can go straight for them. I am of course assuming we can win. Just in case we can't, I'm going to bring that second army across, just to bolster the numbers a little. But it looks like we're fine. I'm sure the nobles will get over it, especially if we manage to fulfill that legitimacy. Agenda. Yeah, no problem. Military access. That's fine. Cool, well that's reduced our manpower nicely. Thanks, nobles. I guess I needn't have worried. Nonetheless. Ooh, Luxembourg. I'm going to want to attack them, aren't I? Let's improve relations with Trier. That's fine. Move time on a bit. Protectionist. So we can gain mercantilism but lose legitimacy, or we can lose the trader. We can't afford to lose legitimacy right now. Or can we? Mercantilism is generally a good thing, though we probably can't afford to. We're going to upset our nobles. Okay, let's get a different advisor. Diplomatic reputation's good, to be fair. So yeah, not a bad thing. Legitimacy of at least 90. I'm very much worried we're not going to make this. Plus we need the king to live to be at least 60 odd. Actually, well, think about it. Do we still have a... No, we do still have a Pope sanction for our dynasty. It's out of interest. Well, I think about it. Yeah. They do have an ally over there, don't they? Probably best not to bother. Incidentally, we haven't really looked at this, but once the colonist arrives, you can see the progress of the colony. So once this gets to full, this will become a normal province, and we can move the colonist elsewhere. You can make as many colonies as you want in theory. You tend to need a colonist to start them, but we could move a colonist somewhere else. However, until this is actually finished, it won't affect our colonial range. Once it's finished, our colonial range should start from here, which would be a lot better. So it doesn't really help us to finish it early. Plus, if we have more colonies than our standard number, we're going to end up with the costs escalating. I mean, it's already 2 ducats a month. Granted, we have far more than that, but that's because our army isn't built yet. So yeah, on the whole, not that keen to go over our normal number of colonies. So it's basically going to be 1 colony per colonist. Unless an event comes up. Okay, ally with foreign power. Or we can lose prestige but gain loyalty. Or we can send them disloyal and get a diplomatic insult. Casus belli on Milan. Not very keen to lose the prestige, really. does give us an excuse to attack them, but I'm not that keen because Bohemia will be fighting against us. Okay, right, well, we've got our colonial ships built, so we should be able to start exploring again. Lost our claim on Norfolk, that's fine. Lost our explorer, so we'll have to recruit a new one and send them over to the colony. We'll also need them to move the army around, which is what all the transports are for. The carracks are really just to help it survive. You never know, might run into pirates or something. You do get pirates, and they're not usually very strong, so one carrack's probably enough to fight them off. Lost more naval tradition. Just built some ships as well. But they're right, we do need to start working on our navy. Casus on Milan is expiring. Never seem to last long. Some provincial unrest up here. I can go and sit next to it. Okay, well, to start with, let's just pay this loan off, and we need to build some cannons. We actually only have 2 cannons in our current army, so that's something we're definitely going to have to start increasing. But I still want the armies to match at the moment, so let's get them to the same point, and then we'll start thinking about increasing the number of cannons. Okay, finished improving relationship with Trier. Right, what I'm thinking now is let's make some claims on some Milanese provinces. And also, let's get our claim on Norfolk back. Get a claim on Hampshire. More of Great Britain we can claim, the better. Okay, so we are going to need 3 more knights to match. Cavalry, I should say. I'm guessing our truce with Great Britain is up. Military access, that's fine. No problem giving military access. Get a bit further on admin tech, which is important because we need to get the expansion idea group as well. This has given us the ability to make more states. Well, 1 more state. So we now need to make a core, which of course we don't have any admin power to do. Okay, great. Got another exploration idea. Right, so that will increase our settlers by 10%. Ooh, ability has randomly gone up, that's good. So that will be helpful, and apparently we're now getting cheaper technology as well, which is brilliant. And cheaper fort maintenance. Okay, excellent. So this bar goes along as you gain these ideas. So we almost have all of them, which is good. All the specific French ideas. Right, I know we need something like 11 infantry. So we just spend all our money on infantry for now. sounds like Holland has formed. Nobility and the king don't get on very well. Oh boy, that's really bad. Well, we can certainly deal with this, but I'd rather not have our army just sort of sat out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. Oh, drat. I must have missed one. Right, okay, let's hire the general. And you go deal with them. I'm just going to do a sort of round robin of dealing with these guys. I'm grateful we don't have anyone in Kent. That's something. Well, marriage with Provence has ended. I'm sure they will request another one before you know it. Is making claims on us. Yeah, well, we're coming for you next. Unless obviously one of the smaller nations is currently arguing with Austria. Looks like Provence is coming to help. They really are an amazingly good ally. Okay, what's the conquest Casas Rebellion against Holland? Well, they are a bit of a way away, to be fair. We have to Flanders first. Yeah, actually that uprising wasn't too bad to contain. Probably got quite lucky with where it was, to be fair. Engineer from Naples. Right, we probably aren't going to lose him, but let's go for it purely for the military power. That is going to send us right back into the land of loans. Also not keen to lose the prestige. Oh, I think we can sanction dynasty again now. Let's try and get our legitimacy up a bit. Still don't think we're going to fulfill that thing. For some reason, whenever I go for the nobles agenda, I end up losing out. Really should learn. Marriage offer from Provence. That is fine. Looks like our spy has been caught in Great Britain. But right, let's go with losing prestige because we do not want to lose the legitimacy. And make our first claim on Milan. Okay, so with that in mind, what do we now have? 22, 4 and 2, 16, 4 and 2. So we need 6 more infantry. And we will see what effect that has on our finances. And then start buying more cannons. More military technology, that's good. Access, no problem with that. Okay, brilliant. So we're finally back more or less where we should be. Our funding is still great, but We do have room for a lot of cannons. I reckon at least 6 per army, which would make sense. Probably can't afford it, unfortunately. So we'll just get what we can afford at the moment. Is anyone out of favour with Austria? Obviously not Provence. Ooh, what was this? Ooh. Seriously? Right. That alliance is going. So apparently taking Turin meant that we now have no way to vassalise Saluzzo. So, yeah. That alliance is just dead in the water, I think. Realistically. Even though Saluzzo is now so heavily reduced that we would have been able to vassalise them. Never mind. Can't be helped. You see, Parma we could probably vassalise. They're like really small. But then, if we're about to lose a small ally anyway, would it be worth having another one? Even if we're only going to be a one province vassal? What about Siena? No. Right, well, we'll think about that next time. Let's just leave it there for now. But yeah, definitely looking much stronger, and hopefully if we attack no one else, we may be in a position to do another attack on Great Britain. And hopefully the colony will finish. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time.